amends. You can do something, and you can stay within the guidelines of a civilized society. And that's what we're trying to do with our character in Exile to Earth. He was banished to Earth for major crimes that he didn't commit. But they didn't find out about the ones he did commit. You see? And that's why. See? That's why he needs redemption. So it's a story about interstellar redemption. And it's the same with that guy who murdered or hacked to death, supposedly his wife's lover, which he wasn't. And this happens to many, many people. Many people are incarcerated for 10, 20 years, and they didn't commit the crime. You follow?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you know...
And so they're isolated. They're of no use to society for 10 to 20 years when they could be. And boy, are they happy to be exonerated. That's the type of thing I'm talking about in my book. True redemption includes forgiveness and an ability and a plan to become a useful member of society again. Because that's the criminal. The criminal has lost his respect for himself, therefore he's lost respect for others. And if you can get him to get the idea that he can regain his respect, no matter what it takes, they usually will take that path, and they will work hard to get back into good graces with their fellow man.
Well, I will say this. In Washington State today, they actually banned, the Supreme Court of our state banned putting people to death. So everybody who's been waiting to be, put to death, their sentence now is life in prison. There's been I just touched on something. I know it's just a little bit off the subject, but there's been so many people gone to prison for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 50 years that were totally innocent. And they were locked up, and, that is so bad. I don't believe in the death penalty. I never have. I don't think it's right as a civilization. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. We try. There's so many reasons to not survive these days. So why make it harder for somebody to survive? To give it the best they can, to give it another shot. What's it to lose? If the guy screws up again, okay, so screw up again. So, hey, we've all screwed up more than once. It's part of living.
We all screw up. I hate to say it. If they wanted to put people in prison, they could probably put 99% of the whole population in prison for something somebody has done. That they either didn't realize they did it, or they knew they did it. Maybe they cheated on their taxes. Maybe they did something. Who knows? But, I mean, we all make mistakes, and we all do wrong things in our life, being from a kid all the way up to an adult. All we can try to do is our best. Hey, our time is up here for tonight. Again, why don't you tell everybody your website, where they can find your book, and your Facebook. Let's get all this out. Okay.
I just want to let the listeners know that I put out 2 new books this year. They're nonfiction, 2018. One's called The Careless Driver. I was a professional chauffeur for several years, and I decided to write a book after repeatedly seeing poor driving from drivers around me. And that came out in March, and the newest book is How to Stay Healthy Till We Die. But all this can be found at Charles Van Heyden. It's German, Van Heyden. It's okay to say Hayden. That's the American pronunciation. CharlesVanHeydenBooks.com. That's where my website is, and you can always send me comments and questions at the contact form, and I'll be very happy to respond.
Now, your Facebook, how can they find you on Facebook?
Facebook is Chaz Van Heyden. I guess it's Facebook/Chaz Van Heyden. I think that's it.
Okay, now, how about Amazon? Is your books available on Amazon?
Yep, they're all up there, except the newest one. I have to revise it. They're asking me to do the cover again, so that's not quite ready to go, but it will be in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, sir. Well, anyway, we got to run. Now, in November, we're going to be talking all about UFOs, aliens, and stuff like that. So if you're interested in coming back on, like mid-November or something, please contact us and we'll get you back on.
Very interested. Very interested. Yeah, and I've got dozens of bookmarks and lots more information that I'd like to share with your listeners.
Okay, sir. Hey, I enjoyed listening to you. And
likewise.
You're a great guest.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Okay, sir. You have a great evening. And thank you for coming on Night Dreams.
You're welcome. Good night.
Night.
Please check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Also, if you want to keep our show free of advertising, just hit the donate button. Give $1 or $2. Remember, all prior shows are always free to listen to. We at Night Dreams Talk Radio thank you for your support.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, that was an interesting guest here tonight. UFOs. I mean, there's a certain, either you believe there's UFOs or you don't. You believe there's aliens or you believe there don't. If you have ever had an encounter with an alien, a UFO, been abducted or had an implant, please get a hold of me at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. I had a cough there. I'm sorry. But again, it's nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Boy, this flu is still hanging in there a little bit. I'm hoping here in the next few days this cough will go away. Of course, smoking cigars, I guess, maybe doesn't help the situation. But, I'm just curious if you ever, saw a UFO close up or at a distance that you knew that it was a UFO or had an encounter with an alien, or if you've been abducted. I really do want to hear from you because, a whole month of November, we're going to be talking pretty much about UFOs, aliens, abductions, implants. We'll have Timothy Cullen back on talking about his situation where he was abducted, had an implant put in his arm, and had Dr. Roger Lear remove it. And what he went through on various different TV shows where he was interviewed with Dr. Roger Lear, the good and the bad and the ugly of the interviews. So that'll be rather interesting. We got Charles Meek coming on. A lot of people will be on, talking about UFOs. And you could be one of them because I did allow about 10 days out of the month of November for, you to be a guest if you had an encounter with UFOs. I do feel that we are on a reboot on this planet, maybe the third or fourth or fifth time. I have no idea. I think we've been rebooted and helped by, I don't know if they're our friends, but them out there. I'm sure, just like different countries, there's going to be aliens from another solar system that might be neutral towards humans and being very inquisitive, like, wow, look how far they went from cover wagon days to flying our aircraft that we fly. This night and day difference over about 100-year period. I mean, technology is advanced so far. And then you start looking at things like, did our technology move from Roswell? Some of the objects that were supposedly recovered from that crash, has that speeded up our technology and other crash UFOs? And supposedly that, UFOs that crashed, that we managed to secure complete UFOs. I don't know. Area 51, are they still there? Well, my informers are telling me Area 51 doesn't really have anything in UFOs anymore. It's now Area 52. So, I mean, if you want to go march on Area 51, like one person wants to do, I think you're marching on the wrong area. I think you need to be looking at Area 52, not 51. But anyway, I just want to also say that I have made a decision, and it was really hard to do here today. I did have the weekend host, Michael W. Hall. I had to make a decision to no longer carry his show. Mainly is, I think very highly of Michael. I think he, is doing the best he can do trying to prove UFOs exist. The problem I find that, I'm an old school broadcaster, and there's some things I didn't agree was going on. But my main thing is that I devote every day. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I take my daughter to work. I get home by 5:30, 5:45. And the next thing I do is I start answering hundreds of emails and texts I get from my listeners. I take the time to respond. I at least try to respond to every one of them. Sometimes it takes me a few days because over the weekend I get overwhelmed with emails from people. A lot, again, I'm going to say, from the UK, Australia, and Europe and places like that. But I get a lot of emails, a lot. So I take the time to respond. So that takes me a couple hours every day to go through and read every email. And then I get, on top of it, on my other account, I get people wanting to be guests on my show. So then I have to make contact with them. And then, back and forth asking them questions before I bring them on my show, and to verify their stories and find out if they're going to be a good fit for Night Dreams Talk Radio. So I do that. So next thing I know, it's time for me to pick my daughter up from work. And then I set up to do the show that night with, getting everything ready, the information, about the guest and what he's going to be talking about. I had that all laid out here. So I spend on the average, maybe 10 to 12 hours a day, 5-6 days a week working on the show. Plus, I've been remodeling the studio and all that stuff, putting in better equipment, better soundproofing, a different server and all that stuff. It just came to a point that physically, because I have Linda who helps me with the bookings, but I do everything else. It's pretty much a one-man operation, just like Peter Davenport does with the UFO Reporting Center. It's pretty much a one-man operation with him. So, I have to do everything. And, that's why I mentioned about donations. If you could donate $1 or $2, that'll help keep us going. I don't have to have advertising on the show. I really don't want to do that because the last group of advertisers I had one of them. It was starting to dictate to me who I could have on my show and who I shouldn't have on my show. I didn't agree with that. And I got really upset, so I quit taking advertising. I don't want to bring advertising back on the show. I don't. But, the expense of running this, the server, the bandwidth, I have to pay for some of the different apps. I have to, the server, the company, it handles, the bandwidth. I got all that. Plus I got the internet fees. I got all this stuff, and it's all coming out of my general pocket. So, and for the who have been donating, I want to say thank you. It's been a big help. But like I said, I don't want to bring advertisers on. I really don't. And I don't want to have to start charging for the archives. I really feel that should be free. But it got to the point where, I was doing my show, and I just explained how many hours a day and a week I spend, doing this show. It's a lot. It's worse than a full-time job. Seriously. And then I had to board up his 2 shows. So, this got to a point like on the weekends, I didn't have no time for my family because I would, have to set up to do the show for him.